majors focus on, the critical emerging technologies that are tied back to the government, the DoD, which is published and very public. But we're focused on dual use technology. So we're not a defense tech only investor, but we're focused on technologies that are applicated in the government. A lot of that's in DoD and innovation within DoD, but also as application on the commercial side of the house. So it's not just focus on data army contract or contracts with the Navy. I think it's no surprise about we talked about in public markets takeaways. There's no surprise about instability that's happening around the globe. Everyone knows what's going on in Ukraine, Russia, everyone knows what's going on in Israel. So everywhere. And so then I think there's obviously what's happening in China. And I think pretty much so here in the United States. It's very evident in everything from a budget perspective. It's staying flat or being cut, but then innovation within the DoD is actually rising across the board. This is a big emphasis, and it's one of the only things that has 5 budgets forward. And it's something that we've been doing around the front floor. We've been doing it for a while, and I feel very bullish about that area because there is a focus and it is a need. And I think we go back to that impact investing. I would say that it's very impactful for us to make sure that we outpace our different costs.
Hi everyone, I'm Patricia. Like this third time I'm introducing myself on the stage here today. I am the co-founder together with Shine, who's sitting here as well, with C10 Labs, which is an AI venture studio. I don't know how familiar you are with AI venture studios, but there has been a lot of discussion about venture capital today and in the context of AI and de-risking ventures. It is an interesting thing that you may want to look into. We are basically ideating, incubating, and funding our own ventures. Funding companies for years. A number of companies we're holding for years, and we're doing it at the speed of light, which is important given the speed at which AI is developing today. In terms of our thesis, we discussed a little bit in the breakout groups about impact investing and just the hype that we're seeing today. How many of you in the audience think that we're in an AI hype? It just came from a big, we had a big ideation event in Palo Alto where I think everyone was there. But I would argue, based on the data that we see today, comparing that to the internet bubble where the PE ratio was over 50 for companies, and they are today around it's around 25. So quite healthy compared to the internet bubble. And also, if you look at the AI companies that's out there, there are 2 different categories. We distinguish between screen AI companies and dimensional AI. So screen AI companies are all those companies that are related to chatbots and other creativity tool, productivity tool. All those things that you see on screens, 2-dimensional things. It's really, really easy to build, but it's also very easy to disrupt. Any college kid from MIT or anywhere else can build it. Lensa was one of those companies that had extremely high valuations and then really fast, very equally fast. So dimensional AI, is why I'm excited about this panel as well, really is what requires deep sector knowledge. So you can build high mode through data, but also through having that sector expertise. And that's what we think is something that we need to focus on. So in thinking about the AI hype, whether we're at a hype, whether companies are overvalued or not, it's important to distinguish between the screen AI and dimensional AI. Another thing that we're looking at is when we're focusing on the application discussion about that in the previous panel as well. As opposed to pure AI, which is the chips cloud and foundation models. Foundation models already becoming monetized. Yeah, we panels will continue to go into that, but let me hand over to you. Thank you.
You want to go?
Go first, please.
My name is Nick Rogers. I'm not an investor, but I'm a serial entrepreneur. How many of you today, Jeffries? Thank you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, most of my business is in the computer game business. I created the first role-playing game in Japan. I contacted the consumer electronics show. We went to see the movie. It's on Apple TV Plus. Well, we go to the Soviet Union and get my purchase rights. Anyway, I had my exits in the beginning, something they stayed mobile phones, and they said in 2005, and I've been sort of investing in companies ever since, but they've all been companies that I started and lost money in. So, or not. So the reason I'm here is I now have an energy storage company, Big Planet Energy, and we sell between $8 and $10 million here of high-end batteries to high-net-worth individuals. We're sort of like a Rolls Royce. I started the BMW 750 series of batteries. The reason I'm here is for the first time I'm actually raising money. I've always sort of bootstrapped my own company. This time, we have such a big business coming at us that I really have to beef up in a big way. So we're going from $10 million to $500 million next year. Because we now have a sort of a Volkswagen of a consumer product instead of a high net worth individual. So we have a reputation. We have we're having the best batteries in the business for the last 7 years. And we're making that reputation and that brand image, and we're taking it to the rest of the consumers.
Good evening, everybody. So how many of you have invested in the space industry or are trying to figure out how to invest in the space industry? Yeah, not many. It's a difficult industry to invest in, I think. You really have to be a deep domain expert, really. I've been in the industry for 35 years now. And it's growing very fast. It's going to be $1 trillion industry, not too distant future. So it is a really exciting industry for sure. But also be aware, like in launch systems, there's still 100 companies in launch. You're going to end up with 10 at the most. It's going to be giant crunching sounds throughout the launch industry. There's a lot of interesting areas. I am personally in the space travel area. I've been in space exploration, human space exploration, that part of the industry all my career. It's a very exciting industry to be in. I do think people scratch their heads a little bit about why. So what's interesting about space travel, even space, if you talk to the general public, they have no idea the impact that space has on our everyday lives. I mean, every moment of our day is in some way impacted by what's happening in space, whether it's using GPS or getting money out of an ATM or anything like that. So now we think about space travel. And space travel is really at the place where air travel was 60, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, probably a little longer. It is at its infancy. In the history of humanity, only 650 people have ever been to space. But it has this outsized ability to inspire us. I think everybody of my age, and somewhat around my age, I'm not from America, but I certainly was inspired by the Apollo program, and it inspired 2 generations of people in America to get involved in STEM in some way. It just has this incredible ability to grab people's attention. But as an industry and a market, It's fascinating because it is growing like crazy. It is literally one of the fastest growing industries in the space industry, and it is going to be a supply constrained industry for years to come because the demand is so big. And just like with aviation, you see that sort of the early stages of this are tourism. A lot of it is tourism. It's one of them buying tickets to go to space. It is also some government contracts, of course. There's research, there's manufacturing. Now we're beginning to see manufacturing is going to start happening in space. So this entire area of space exploration is a really, over the next few years, you are really going to see this industry blossom. And of course, my business, what I'm about, is creating that market. Because I'm imagining that most of you in this room also have not imagined yourself going to space. But that's because you envision it in a very particular way. You envision it as something you have to train for. Only heroes go to space. Or that you have to spend millions and millions of dollars to go to space. We're completely changing that and making it so that if you can get on an airplane, you can go on Spaceship Neptune. So you're really going to start seeing completely different models for this. And then if you look at sort of the different philosophies behind the different companies that are really pushing this in the public, you've got, the Elon Musk who's like, oh, we need a plan B, we got to go to Mars, we have to have population elsewhere on the planet. Okay. You can have the Jeff Bezos, which is we should be offshoring our dirty manufacturing to the moon and elsewhere. So actually, in that regard, we're helping planet Earth. With us, we're actually all about planet Earth. We're all about, it's a carbon neutral company. It's a carbon neutral way of getting to space. And for us, it is about taking people to space initially for space tourism. We have other business models in the future, but initially for space tourism to get that incredibly transformative experience of seeing Earth in space that every astronaut will tell you about every day of their lives in big thing.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm the co-founder of Key Capital Resource Partners. We're a sponsor focusing on metals and mining companies. Stat that I really like to start off with, because this is probably one of the most boring industries out there, is that over the next 20 to 30 years, we're going to consume as a world more virgin copper than has been dug up out of the ground since the beginning of humanity. The reason being is we're going through a massive cycle of upgrading power transmission infrastructure, changing the way that we think about generating power, moving to green energy, and also utilizing in needing metals for all sorts of brand new technological industries. And that is placed in the backdrop of about 10 years of radical disinvestment and also underinvestment within the metals and mining space, which has only been made worse over the last 18 months of rapidly rising interest rates, which has only set the stage for continued sort of like delay in needed capital expenditure to meet existing demand. And so a number of years ago, my partner Henry and myself saw this supply and demand crunch coming and built a team of geologists, geophysicists, geochemists to find some of the world's best mining assets, track them, understand the sort of financial situations of their owners, and try to buy them at great margins of safety and move them across the development curve with an intent to bring them to production.
By the way, before you speak, Jason, I think when I think of start off with defense and we'll use, but supply chain issues on metals and minerals and the geopolitical aspects there and the impact aspects, you want to just bring it full circle?
Yeah, sure. So just putting a finer point on just how undersupplied we are on metals. If you map out using data from the U.S. Geological Service, from McKinsey, from like other trusted sources, what you'll find is the large majority of the world's industrial metals and also transitionary metals are anywhere between 10% undersupplied, all the way to 90% undersupplied. And these include metals that you hear about day to day, like copper, all the way to like very esoteric rare earth metals. Now, you combine that with the fact that globally, those supply chains aren't getting any easier. And the reason why is that it takes, on average, anywhere between 15 to 17 years to bring a completely greenfield mining project to production. There's not a lot of brownfield advanced development projects that exist out there. So that's sort of frozen in time. Unlike in oil and gas, you can kind of like find more, you can bring more online. It's not the case in metals and mining. And then finally, on top of that, we live in a world that is becoming increasingly deglobalized. So if you look at the distribution of where all these critical materials live, the large majority of them live in countries that are not Western centric, either don't care or have somewhat of an that conflict with Western values. And as a result, what you find is not only do we need to find more of these minerals because of the supply chain breakup, because of the deglobalization that we're seeing, we need to find more of these minerals, and we need to find them in more places that are Western aligned in order for us to have a consistently secure supply of those critical resources.
Now, Jason, you've heard all this.
Sure. Now, first of all, Mark, we're combining two panels into one. What time are we in?
So at 5:15, I merged it into we have 24 minutes.
A long time.
Just so you know.
That's a long time.
There's line waiting.
Oh, so we got it. You're going. I don't have any
Okay,
more.
so they have the muscle here, right?
Let me do one last round of nothing. Yeah.
Right, okay. All right, since I'm asked to speak about and moderate impact, philanthropy, and NGen, I'll focus on that. Philanthropy,
That's the thread. You can go across.
sure, great. And so I'm going to focus up my talk on that. Philanthropy, let's define that. Philanthropy to me, not only capital, but your time, energy, skills, connections to really help masses of disadvantage. How's that? Okay, as a definition. And as you can see, I'm sporting a St. Jude pin, and I've been the advisory council member there. It just warms my heart, warms a lot of people's heart to really give to that. Did you guys know St. Jude, they spend over $2 billion per year on OpEx, and most of the funding is really from generous private donors. It's pretty amazing. If God's not behind that, I don't know where it is from. And personally, I'm also involved with the B20 G20. I've been a B20 member for the past 10 years so far, since Australia 2014. And the B20 is pretty much the G20's official arm that represents the entire global business community, the private sector. So technically, we represent everyone here, and we pitch policy recs to the governments. We get the attention of presidents and prime ministers and all the ministries and departments, and they partially implement what we advise them. Business drives the growth. We help steer the governments in better direction. So it's not perfect. It's messy. I don't fully agree with everything that we pitch, but I have a voice there. So very blessed. And philanthropy does not, limit to leading gens, right? Next gens, even high school kids, millennials certainly, right? You give one of my daughters, for example, she founded the Acts of Random Kindness Club back in high school, art club, spread to 150, 200, high schools throughout the nation and internationally, including all the public schools in Palo Alto and all that. That's philanthropy, right? So one favorite tool, one recommendation is that if you are too lazy to set up your 503c, go for, kind of donor advice funds, like Silicon Valley Community Foundation is the world's biggest, foundation, community foundation out there. Death, right?
Just on that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's good. At least like a 90-minute deep dive. Just on.
I'd like to bring in some powerful
I think
players.
it's before the end of the year.
Yeah.
So it's already.
Yeah, a lot of ideas too. huge.
So mid-December.
Yeah, so philanthropy is huge. Impact. All right, on the company building side, on the entrepreneurship side, and also on the investor side. My definition of impact is to do something that will solve real problems out there that's good for humanity. You know, individual all the way to government level, certainly family, companies, individuals. So, you know, we talk about climate here quite a bit, alternative and energy, and even going to the moon, right? You know, I try to set up the first moon colony, what Hank's doing. And my tech company, I got two companies, my tech company and my family business. I believe that what we do is going to be hugely beneficial for consumers. Did you guys know that 58% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck? Even the wealthy won't have a discount, right? So we are directly adding consumer spending and purchasing power in a very pleasant and non-intrusive way, while benefiting advertisers and platform distribution partners in ways that's never been done before. You know, in the $700 billion global digital advertising space, right? That's one thing that defines it. Now, I'm very excited. I think despite we're in a very turbulent world out there with Israel, Gaza, with Russia, Ukraine, with you know, kind of China, Korea, and Iran. There's good and bad, but I see great opportunities for us leaders in this room to really make a positive impact. For profit is great, you know. Like ministry, like you know, like in faith, ministry means loving and serving others in a very good way. That's ministry. It could be through your for-profit company. It could be through your fund, right? Certainly through your nonprofit or other philanthropy effort that you go for. That's impact for you. Next gens. A lot of you here know that I'm known as the chief mentor of next gen leaders. Naturally, next gens. Let's define them. Gen Z, high school kids, college kids, millennials, different stages of millennials, right? Late 20s all the way to early 40s. The senior millennials are typically probably married with kids, right? And the junior millennials, I joke around with kids all the time, is that they're probably still single but highly eligible. But they are in different maturity level, they're in different stages in their lives. And what can we do is mostly leading gens in this room with some next gens as well that are probably mostly millennials, as I can see. What can we do to really help create a better world out there for profit and not-profit, right? Don't just follow the bandwagon, especially Gen Z out there. And some of you know that I coach and mentor high achievers, like in top universities and colleges, but also really hone their pragmatic, emotional, social, and leadership intelligence, the foundation. The higher up, the more complex the skyscraper is, the stronger your foundation's gotta be. You know, otherwise your skyscraper is gonna get wobbly. Your mindset, your soft skills, your interconnected strategies, and execution. All of us got rooms for improvement, right? In our foundation. So I'll leave it at that, Mark.
We've got a lot out there, right? Build great Gen Xers. You know, we're actually the one taking the trillions to
Gen Xers, absolutely. Gen Xers are next gen as well. Gen Xers are the doers. They are the practical CEOs out there, like Mark. The younger one. I'm actually a boomer, believe it or not. I hope I just graduated high school.
So all that said, let's make this a little interactive. We've got the dual use, the minerals opportunities. We got the space, but we're also going to travel and consumer experience. We have AI from the bottom of the studio model of AI out of MIT. I don't want to wait for everything's AI. And then Hank, yeah, I didn't know you were trying to build a community. I'm not. Okay. It's another dimension.
That's just the hobby, but
Okay.
but I talked to philanthropy.
You get this. You're the perfect person.
Yeah. Where's my birthday? No. So I sold the company back in 2005. A month later, I found myself in the block of the Widowmaker, which goes 95% of the people inhabit, and I found my mission to run. And first mission is to end use of carbon-based fuel, climate change. Started with ocean acidification, that's how we model and all that. But I have so far put about $10 million into ending use of carbon-based fuel, starting in Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii at the time. And I not only put money in, but I dedicated my time and my energy and my abilities. And so my message to everybody here is, if you have money, don't just die with your money. That's like, is that what you make the money for? And the answer is no. You must have something, and I don't care what it is, something that you made money for. There's something that pissed you off when you were in high school about the world. I need you to go and fix that thing, whatever that is. I need you to not only put money in it, but actually spend your talent and your time. It's just like you use it. And so, yeah, that's mainly what I do. The battery business is a offshoot of that because it's part of what's necessary for us to actually get to 100% renewable. And yeah, so yeah, I have 4 missions. I'm only talking about one of my missions. And yeah, this is not, we're not in a situation where we can hope that this is going to happen. Yeah, we are in a situation where we have to make this happen. So people ask me if I have hope, and no, determination is all. It's going to take the determination of all of us here to stop climate change, or our children or our grandchildren are. I mean, we sit here as we're thinking about how to make more money, What are we going to do? Give it to our kids and then ruin the world that they live in? No, that's not the way forward. The way forward is for us, our generation. I'm going to someday on my deathbed, my grandchild can ask me, so we had this climate thing, what did you do about it? My answer is not going to be nothing. My answer is maybe that I did something. When you drop the money.
Are you sure? Sure. Okay, because mine ties to yours quite nicely. So I too was very lucky that I kind of found a published quite early in my, I won't say, I was sealed inside this thing called Biosphere 2, where I lived inside for 2 years inside an enclosed environment that really gives you the same sense that astronauts get when they see it on space.
Does anyone understand do you appreciate what you just did? That's you, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Yeah, 2 years and 20 minutes. I shorted myself 20 minutes. So why it's relevant though, I think, is because I was very lucky to have that visceral experience of being part of our biosphere, part of our global. In that instance, it was a miniature biosphere. It has just in case you don't know what it was, it's still around, but not sealed anymore. At the time, it was sealed tighter than the International Space Station, where the rainforest, a savanna, a desert, marsh, an ocean, where we grew our food and where we lived. So it was a mini version of planet Earth, completely sealed. And so I really got this visual understanding of what it is to be part of a world that we rely on and that relies on us, and of course, by extension, our planet. We were designing it in the 80s, and I went in the very early 90s. And so it was that experience that sort of really pushed me into going into space exploration. And the reason is that every astronaut who has ever been to space for any appreciable period of time, and even those that have been there for 10 minutes and 15 seconds recently on Blue Origin, come back and say the same thing. First of all, it completely blows their mind to see planet Earth from that vantage point. It is deeply and profoundly moving, and they really get at a very visceral level that we are a singular human family, all inhabiting a spaceship Earth together, hurtling through space. And it doesn't just change the perspective, it changes people's behavior. And that, coming back to what is impact, I think is very important to understand that space travel, for a little while last year was getting a bad rap. It was just billionaires and rich people who go and have fun in space. No, it actually changes their behavior. So people come back from space and get more involved in environmental and social causes. So from an impact investment point of view, the reason I'm excited about it, thank you so much. I don't think that'll help. I just am doing a Kermit impression today. I'm sorry. But the reason I get up every day to do this is to take influencers, people of means, people who can make a difference in this world, to have this incredible experience and come back, and some of them will do something amazing.
Sorry, I just wanted to build directly on these last three comments. I think Africa really represents the hope of the future when it comes to climate. And I do want to recognize that, because there was a discussion before where we talked a little bit about the emerging markets and whether they will have any impact on what we're doing here. And I would argue that they will, for two reasons. First, as I said, they represent the hope of the future when it comes to climate. Why? Because more than 70% of the rare minerals that we depend on, Tesla, all these big companies for the energy transition, comes from one country alone, Congo DRC. Their GDP is the $300 billion is the value of cobalt that goes into electric cars. That's 5 times the GDP. But only 9% actually of the population has access to electricity and the electrification and the future that they're a part of. So there are two things there. First, they're very important. It's also a very important aspect of impact investing, because companies across the board can have a huge impact. AI comes in here as well. Our mining colleague, there's a lot of things that AI can do to support mining as a sector. 99% of all the exploration projects in mining are unsuccessful. The help of AI to actually analyze the soil before you can enter the drill bits and incurring health microbiologists, you can actually have a much higher success rate by using AI. So this is the way we work in our venture studio. We're working very closely with strategic partners and penetrating the processes. So again, avoiding all these photo sharing apps as nice as that is, but this is where the real value, it has not been realized across the sectors. But that's where the real value is, and on the mining sector, absolutely, is very important for climate transition. And also for finding, as you mentioned, it's important the rare minerals to become climate transition.
Since we are short on time, let's keep our response less than 2 minutes each. Sean, once again, you're doing very important work, because lithium, plutonium, copper, other minerals, and imagine if the United States are, resource supply chain, especially raw materials, independent. How cool would it be? Get like energy independence, right? Now, going back to impact and philanthropy, as we see so many fellow gray hairs here, and think about family legacy and succession planning and execution. Imagine that you're worth $1 billion, right? 500 million, 100 million, whatever. You're in bed now, you're about to go 6 foot under. Would you want most of the people in the room with you in a hospital, those who truly love you, with a real relationships, or mostly relatives that just want your money? What's more important to us? So when you reverse engineer that vision, it's like, what can we do in our character building while we're doing all such great deeds, for-profit companies, investments, nonprofit, philanthropy? What can we do to improve our character, evidenced by real actions out there that could really impact the world positively, right? And think about, especially the relationships. Think about peace of mind, guys. Come on, we want peace of mind, right? Especially in NGen. Think about the relationships that we could all enhance with our children. Now, about grandkids and grandparents tend to have a naturally beautiful relationship. But this, even for your Gen X children, your millennial children, what can we do as a leading gens, especially Gen Z, to help them out, to apply yourselves to really benefit them. That all ties into philanthropy impact, for profit, wealth preservation, wealth, enhancement. Imagine if your relationship with your next gens are not that good, why on earth would you like to transfer your wealth? $70 trillion you're going to get transferred in the next 40 years. Most people don't know that. Did you know that? So it's a big thing here. It's really a big thing.
Is that a question?
Is there a question? Oh,
That's a question.
I
like the comment.
You know, I just wanted to comment on like the impact themes and the sort of like generational themes that many of you had talked about just now. So I'm not 100% sure, but I might be the youngest person on this panel. Maybe. I'm not sure, but I also happen to have 2 kids. And you know, I think about this a lot, and a lot of this like ended up.
but there's a joke for you. You're Asian American. You could be 1,000 years old.
There you go. Yeah. And I thought about this a lot before Henry and myself started our minerals venture, right? You know, like I want to leave behind a legacy for my children by which they continue to be able to breathe clean air and have the electricity they need to be able to go about their day-to-day tasks, have the ability to explore points far beyond, terra firma, and have the ability to work far more efficiently through, technological advancements that are powered by AI and beyond. And, I've spent most of my life looking at, thinking about this, dreading this in a lot of senses. I think the millennial class, starting from mid-millennials and younger, think about this every day. It's in the back of their minds. And you see that in the trends of investments that have become incredibly popular over the last 5 years. And all of those sectors, all of these bleeding edge sectors that seek to make the world a better place for myself, my children, and hopefully my children's children, have a ton of capital that's flowing into them, trillions of dollars of capital. But again and again, what Henry and I noticed was people have gotten very far away from seeing like, hey, we can build all this amazing infrastructure. We can't build it without the base load inputs. And I cannot, in the same way that I think people have underlined the importance of creating the technology that helps the next generation succeed and thrive, I cannot highlight enough the urgency by which the investor community needs to look at the critical minerals and industrial metals that go into making all of those sectors a reality and allocating responsible dollars to that space to ensure that as that technology is developing, the feedstock to enable the technology to become a reality and to scale is available.
So, we've had 0 interactions so far. Has anyone got any questions on these industry themes?
I actually have a comment. Excellent discussion on purpose. Why did purpose fighters now? And maybe not investing and what's really money. There's like when there's like when there's amounts of money. So our innate need as humans is to balance of purpose. It's ours not. And if we don't have a sense of purpose and we think that we're just wouldn't be distributing money and that's for money, there's a disconnect between that innate need that makes it emerge, push down, wherever it is. And we can operate from that for some time, but eventually what happens, the disconnect begins to grow. And that's where the awakening may happen or may not. And people get into the stress mode, people get a sense of depletion, in the sense of being lost, all kinds of things that construct in their life with its relationships or business. So going back to, we need to have a purpose, and every single business can be looked at from a place of just generating money or from a place of value creation. Every single business can be looked at from the perspective of fulfilling some human need.
It's just how we look at it. We look at the AI as revenue generation opportunity, productivity opportunity, but we can also look at the AI as where's the value creation of that. So anything different. We're just recreating things and finding a sense of purpose, whatever you do. Just remember, if there is a jet for money, that search for money to make more money, there has to be a sense of purpose somewhere. Otherwise, it's a whole part.
Any questions?
I'm Anthony Mark. My father was a mining analyst in South Africa. So, hello, I'm Anthony. My father was a mining analyst in South Africa. I think it still is. And the question here is, I love what you said about AI and how it can be accretive to mining. But I'm a mining builder and I delve in the cross sector of mining and they're out of favor. My question, why, is there a reason that it's underground? Maybe we shouldn't be touching it. And a lot of mining has been cyclical and ends in destruction and decay. And by the way, lithium is highly destructive. The plants, animals, the carbon system and everything. So my question for you, usually what to create an alternative to the current and future dependency on minerals and mining?
So that's a great question.
He just said, I'm an investor across all of it, but how do we fix it? Right? That's true.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think
Oh, and by the way, uranium in a boom like since 2000 is based on its way to the next peak, right? And so what is going on?
Well,
where is the alternative?
I think you've started. I think he started to make the point for me, which is, it depends on the commodity. It depends on the metal, right? Now, we've seen it in lithium. I think that, the current boom in terms of lithium exploration, development, and production is a function of sort of folks trying to dig more of that out of the ground in order to empower the current wave of batteries that are needed in order to support the economy. Now, I think a lot of people in this room probably know there's already been a tremendous amount of research that has gone into lithium alternatives and also sustainable ways to extract lithium from the ground. Now, you go into other metal sectors and, it's a combination of not that easy or that, the benefits outweigh the cost. So going to the gentleman's earlier point in relation to uranium, right? Some people in the room may know that small scale nuclear power plants are very likely to be in the medium to long term the most sustainable way that humans produce and consume electricity. Now in copper, which we're extremely overweight on, the sort of environmental destructiveness is substantially less than that of lithium. Most of the for example, our project and most of the sort of like highly economic, low cost projects also happen to be sort of at surface. You're just digging rocks out of the ground. That's already close to infrastructure that people have already built. Once you dig those rocks out of the ground, you crush it, then you take those same rocks, you spread it back out again, and you replant the vegetation. The sort of action plan for restoring that area is already very well defined, unlike sort of extracting other metals like lithium. So to answer your question, right, it really, really depends on the individual market dynamics of every single end market commodity.
The nuclear is decades away.
Sorry?
The nuclear that we talk of is decades away.
Well, I hate to plug other people in the room here, but that's why natural gas is so interesting.
Yeah, so batteries, I'm in batteries as well now, and batteries used to be lead acid, which is about as bad as in terms of stuff. And what's in your phone, what's in my Tesla, is lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, nickel, cobalt, manganese. So there's the cobalt and there's the manganese that they're talking about scraping the bottom of the ocean for. We've already moved past that. The batteries that I've been selling for the last 8 years are lithium ferrous phosphate, so it's iron and phosphate. There's no cobalt in there. So that's everybody else now that the patents run out. All the Chinese have discovered it, lithium ferrous phosphate, and Ford is going to make lithium ferrous phosphate, pickup trucks. But I'm already on the next chemistry. I'm looking for, always looking, and we are all looking for the next chemistry. The chemistry that I'm playing with now, and I'm sure people that can make it, is graphene. Graphene batteries it's a combination of graphite and single layer carbon. So batteries that are made out of carbon. And I've heard people talk about we can make this stuff out of pig shit. I mean, it's no longer metal. And so we're quickly moving past. I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to be over tomorrow. Definitely not. There's all the people that have invested billions of dollars in making gigafactories in their, with existing chemistries. But all I'm saying is there's other chemistry coming down the pipe that will eventually fix that.
I just wanted to add a few reflections on just tying together emerging industries and tech. Because there has been a lot of focus on mining and climate now. But there's just so many other emerging industries that are important. But I can actually, in fact, looking at every single one of you, I can imagine how impactful your sector in combination with AI as an emerging industry could be. Gamification to achieve the human goals, right? I mean, let's work together. Defense industry, again, another industry where there's just, I would say, given the countries I work in, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Sierra Leone during the Ebola crisis, there's just so much misallocation in the defense. And the things that could be offered. I mean, there are a lot of things that could be done. Material science for the space industry is another thing where AI could benefit from. Personalized medicine, who doesn't want that? It's one of the few sectors of the economy where total factor productivity has actually not and never really increased, right? And where there is a huge opportunity to benefit from AI, so meaning output per input has just not increased. So having AI co-pilot doctors serving it's something I'm very excited about. I do want to mention one point also when it comes to the impact, which is that most of the sustainable development goals, 79% of them actually do not need super intelligence, but with just the AI that we know today, we can actually help achieving all those goals and the impact. And you made a very good remark about purpose and impact. And that's something to keep in mind as well, especially in view of the past week's saga with OpenAI, right? There was something that super intelligence. Thank you.
Last comment, because it's really like 2 sentences comment from everybody, and then we're gonna do breakouts. And then there's wine waiting.
Fantastic. Awesome. Want to go this way?
Yeah, I think it's gonna put a bow on it.
What are we doing what are we doing?
Up to 2 minutes each.
What are we doing for this?
2 sentences,
Not
your last comment on whatever you want to comment on. Just make it meaningful.
Two second, like 2 minutes.
You know what? Come back to me. That's a lot of pressure. I can't go first.
Hold on.
2 sentences.
2 sentences.
Just 2 sentences.
Go for it.
Out there. No. Hey, please.
So I invite you all to come and have a glass of wine in space.
There you go.
Well, accept that information.
Cody, come on.
That's right. Come on, go for it.
Don't mention wine in space though.
Don't mention wine in space.
Great luck.
I really don't know. I can't.
Love it. It's
So-
good.
All right. Do whatever it takes out of your resources, when you're hiring other mind and resources, financial, to support the heck out of the next gens and those next gens around you, to help steer them in a better direction and kind of, next gens, I mean, not the more mature next gens, especially the Gen Zs, right? They will need direction. Even though if they're already going to Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, whatever, they will need direction. But do so in a way where it actually enhances your mutual relationship.
Yeah, I would just challenge everyone in here to maybe take a look at who we use for defense tech and understand what that is and the differences there. Then also understand the impact that can have, kind of back to this panel, how that can have both on the commercial side, whether that's prevented and whatever it may be, but also on the human life element side when we talk about defense and it's how much of it.
Okay, folks, we have the technology, we have the money. All we need is a willpower. We can fix climate change, we can fix garbage in the oceans, we can clean mining, we can put back and forth, we do all those things. And I'd like them to be done by 2045. It's the 100th anniversary of the United Nations. And then all of us get our shit together and fix everything that we've broken and put back everything that we've stolen for nature. We are doing it.